And we're back. So hello there. This is Lynn Hamilton, your lead instructor here at Samson Properties, to bring you another episode of great information that you need to know. So in this session, we are going to cover recession-proof your marketing and how to specifically work with attorneys and estate liquidations. So if this is what a pillar from Jumpstart Session 4 that you have decided that is something you want to work with, we're now going to take and start putting the pieces of your puzzle together one more piece at a time. Okay? There you go. All right. So I want to say welcome to everyone who is live with me in class and those that are going to be watching it or are currently watching it on the replay. Let's jump right in. Want to make sure that everyone in class has a handout. They're on the back chair if you need to grab one. And if you are watching this online, underneath the video in Samson University, provided that's where you're seeing it, scroll down a little bit, and underneath the video is where the handouts are for all the classes. Now, if it's sitting on the dashboard, it may not show up there, but look, go see, we'll make sure. And if you need it, email me. I'll be happy to get it to you until we get everything uploaded and ready to work like a charm. All right. So as always, we like to start by thanking Cardinal Title. They are the ones that provide the resources to make all of this happen. So, and yes, this is my little cardinal that comes to my backyard in my little bird feeder out there. And if the bird feeder is empty, he does this number at me through the window. In other words, get up and come feed me. So I always make sure when I get that look from him that I go out and fill up the bird feeder. So again, it reminds me that Cardinal Title is an amazing company, that they are the ones that support everything here at Samson. So if you appreciate all the bells and whistles that you've got here at Samson Properties, just know that Cardinal Title is the gas, the oil, the water, the air in the tires, the everything that makes the engine run. So there you have it. So when you have a buyer or a seller and are able to select a title company, I would hope like heck that it's Cardinal Title. And there you have it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, so here's a couple quick class rules for those that are either watching it online or even here in class, because I can still tell if your phone goes off. Make sure your phones are off or on silent for me. I want you to be open to some new ideas, especially with this one. I'm going to ask, may I have your permission to be blunt and honest with you, tell you what you need to know, not always what you want to hear? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, I'm getting my thumbs up. Hear my heart, forgive my mouth, because you know me. It may just fly out. So I'm going to make sure that we're okay there. You do have to laugh at my stupid jokes. There you go. That was supposed to be one of them. And I want you to learn something new, but more important, I want you to be willing to implement what you're learning, because with that, it will work. Okay. Just listening to the stuff is not going to do you a whole lot of good. So implement, 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 and then cry all the way to the bank. Okay, as a reminder, I want to make sure that you as an agent understand the weight that is on your shoulders and the trust and the responsibility that's in your hands. In this industry, you are expecting people to trust you with the biggest financial purchase of their life or the biggest sell of their life. Hear my heart, forgive my mouth, because here it comes. You do not have the right to screw it up. Okay. All these years in this industry, I've seen horror stories where agents have done something blatantly wrong and cost the client $20,000, $30,000. And their excuse was, oh, well, I didn't know. I only do this part-time. I don't pay attention to all this stuff. Really? Don't make me come after you. You wouldn't want it done to you. Don't you dare do it to somebody else. Okay? I have seen clients get financially ruined. I have seen them have to file bankruptcy. I have seen them lose their house because of what an agent has done. I never want to see that happen again. And I certainly do not want to ever see or hear of our Samson agents having that happen. Because here at Samson, you've got everything being handed to you on a silver platter. We take and I do especially, take a lot of pride in the fact that our Samson agents are, in fact, hands down, some of the best trained in the industry. And everything you need is being handed to you on a silver platter. Okay? So when you take these classes, I don't care who's teaching them, pause for a moment and say, what's my aha? What's my takeaway? What am I going to be able to implement and make my business better, stronger, more effective, more efficient? But how is it going to allow me to better serve the consumers? There you go. Okay? So head held high, shoulders back, take pride in this industry, take pride in your business, and realize you are building out a business. It's not just a hobby. Okay? All right. In this, always think outside the box, be creative. And if you're not, I am. So I'm going to give you everything I got, and be the Uncola. Now, how that plays out and what that means is back in 1967, yes, I had to Google it and look it up. 7-Up was getting ready to relaunch. The market was already saturated with cold, caramel-colored, carbonated beverages. Say that a couple times real fast. They didn't need another one. So they hired this marketing company to say, how do we brand ourselves as unique and different? Thus, be the Uncola. It is still cold. It is still carbonated, but it's uniquely different. That was their marketing tagline, and it was brilliant. So the takeaway for you is there's enough other, hear my heart, forget my mouth, lazy agents that are out there. I want you, our Samson agents, to be that Uncola. Be unique, be special, be different, be better than most of them out there. And we will continue to rank and be number one in the footprint for our consumers. So there you go. We good? Say yes. All right. A quick reminder of what you learned today is what's going to help you earn tomorrow. You should be on a constant quest to sharpen your skills, sharpen your techniques, sharpen your verbiage, sharpen everything about your business, which is why those in class got the pencil today. And if you need them, they're in the back. And it does say it's time to sharpen your skills. So there you go. All right. A quick reminder, I would encourage you to get that notebook. If you've gone through Jumpstart sessions 1, 2, 3, and 4, I've always talked about the notebook. I'm going to ask you to 3-hole punch each of the handouts that go with any of the classes that you take, put it into your notebook, and that way you are customizing your training manual for yourself based off the pillars that you're going to build out. Okay? So there you have it. That's why. We always like to start with a little bit of disclaimer about this working with the attorneys and working with estate liquidation. This is not for the faint at heart. Sometimes you will need to have a strong backbone to deal with some of the stuff or any other S word that comes to mind that's going to pop up in this category. All right. So be willing to be sympathetic, empathetic, but also learn to have a backbone. All right. And when I share some of the reasons with you, you will quickly learn why. So some words of wisdom. Let me ask you a question. Oh, wait, I'm giving you the answers. Does the market change? Yes. Can we control the change? No. But can we adjust to the changes? Yes, we sure can. Okay. So thinking about this, whoops, let me go ahead and jump over one more page. What exactly is recession-proof marketing? Now, you know me, I like to give credit where credit is due. I learned this from a $500 seminar I went to years ago. It was one of the best $500 I invested. And it was at a time that I'm not sure I really had the extra $500, but I did. And I'm glad I did. Bless his heart, I found out he recently passed away, which broke my heart. But Todd Bates taught this to us. It was recession-proof marketing. And the concept of it was, what are the things that happen in the world that consistently happens regardless of what the world is doing, the economy is doing, any other component, doesn't matter. It's going to happen every year, every month, every week, and every day. So that is what recession-proof marketing is. Now, referring back to, hopefully by now, you have completed Jumpstart Session 4. Hopefully you've gone through 1, 2, 3, and 4. Session 4 talks about the marketing department of your business. We give you 24 options of marketing pillars. No, you're not going to be doing them all. We encourage you to pick 3 or 4. And why? Because there's 4 legs on the chair that you're sitting on. There's probably 4 tires on the car that you have out in the parking lot. If I tell you I'm going to go out and pop a couple tires, just kidding, I'm not going to. Do you want me to do the front, the back, the right, or the left? None. If I'm going to break off a leg on the chair, front, back, right, or left? None of them. Why is 4 the common denominator there? 4 gives you balance and stability. Marketing, the biggest mistake I've seen agents make over the years is they focus on one thing and one thing only. And if that doesn't work, pay off, or give them enough business, they're stuck and drowning. So by having 4, you're going to get a few from here, a few from here, a few from here, a few from here. Now you've got a full plate and plenty of business. So that is the concept and the logic behind it. So let's talk about what are the 5 things that happens in a person's life that changes the need, not the want, but the need for where they live. Let's go through them. First off, a new job or career path. Can that change the need for where they live? Okay. If they just got a $2 million a year job offer in Austin, Texas, do you think they're staying here? They are heading out. They're calling you saying, hey, the key's under the mat, sell the house, I'm gone. Okay. So a new job or career path, especially after graduation, will absolutely change the need for where they're going to be. Family status, whether they're getting married, merging families, taking in seniors, empty nesters, do those things change the need for the house? Yes, it does. Getting a divorce, does that change the need for where they're going to want to live? Absolutely. And retirement, absolutely. They're going to Florida because they want to go golf, all right? Or death, absolutely changes the need for where they're going to live. Now, it's also been said that there's also falls under the 5 Ds. So it is diploma, diamonds, diapers, divorce, and death. There's your 5 Ds. All right. There you go. All right. So let me ask you a question. Based off those things, do they happen every day? Yes, they do. Do they happen every week? Yes, they do. Do they happen every month? Yes, they do. Do they happen every year? Yes, they do. Gang, that is recession proofing your marketing component of your real estate business. There you go. Who remembers way back in, was it 08, 09 or whatever, when the market was skyrocketing up and then it took a nosedive and went, meow. Anybody remember that? I got a couple of hands in the room. Let me ask you a question. Why didn't you call me and tell me the market was taking a nosedive? Because I totally missed it. I never felt the crunch and the hit. Why? Because I took what Todd had taught me, and I had not 1, but 2 of my marketing pillars that tapped into these things. My business just kept on going. Okay? I never felt the crunch. I never felt the hit. Now, I would go to the office and I'd hear people boo-hoo and they would give anything for a transaction. And I'm thinking, I just want a day off. Okay? Which was a good thing that my business was keeping on going because I had a daughter in college. Now, I used to say that she was cheaper than bail. People used to think that was funny, especially if they knew her and knew me. Till we got into the master's program, and I started to rethink that just a little bit. We had a couple of research trips we got to do. Oh, my God. And it was cool when she let me know that she found the documentation that she needed to go see for her master's thesis. We were in San Diego. It was in Springfield, Illinois, at the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library. I said, cool, we're going. She goes, Mom, it's in Springfield. And I said, daughter, there are cars to get us to the airport. There's a plane to get us back there. There is hotels. I'm going. You going with me? She's like, yeah. 2 weeks later, we were on a plane and gone. We got to see stuff that hadn't seen the light of day in over 100 years. Okay, let me just say it was friggin' awesome. Okay, but that was also my big why. In Jumpstart Session 1, the first thing we ask is, what is your big why? Why are you in this business? What are you wanting to achieve and do? And I'll tell you, helping her through college was my big why. And yeah, I had life happening, and I had people passing, and I had family members passing, and I had my best friend and real estate partner got diagnosed with cancer and was gone a year and a half later. That was a tough time. But I knew my big why kept me going to get through that component. So when the market took its nosedive, I never felt it. Recession-proof marketing. So that is, I'm hoping, the takeaway that you will understand as you leave here. So I always tell agents, do not put all your eggs in one basket. I have seen agents who have spent their massive amount of money buying leads. Not my favorite choice, not my favorite option. We'll discuss that at another time. And then when that has dried up, they were stuck. So this is why we talk about so much in Jumpstart Session 4 about the importance of the 4 pillars. And this, working with attorneys for estates and divorces, become a very valuable one. Okay? So let's go ahead and dive right in. In your handouts, hopefully you have them with you. The first step is I'm going to walk you through what you need to do to prep your sessions. Can someone bring me a copy of the handout, please? I just realized I put them all in the back of the room. Sorry. Thank you, ma'am. And you go get another one. Thank you. That's pretty bad. The teacher didn't even have the handout. Okay. Thank you. All right. So in prepping and getting started, here's what I recommend. Tap into your SOI, your sphere, the people that you know. The conversation would go something along the lines of, hey, I'm working on a project and I need your help. That is a great opening line. I'm working on a project. I need your help. One of the niches that I'm going to specialize in is helping those families liquidate after a loss. My question is, have you ever had to clean up and dispose of everything after a loss? And if so, where did grandma hide it? Now, it could be grandma, it could be grandpa, fill in the blank. But where did they hide what? That's the key there. Where did they hide what and where? Because 9 times out of 9 times, when an estate is being liquidated out, there are hidden treasures in there. You want to have a list of where stuff has been hidden. Now, this serves 2 purposes. A, there's that old saying that people will support that in which they've helped to create. So you are asking your sphere, you're letting them know that this is a niche that you have and that you're probably going to be working, or you are working with a couple of attorneys, but you want to find out from their experience where what was hidden at, what and where. That lets them know that you're on that page. They will keep that rotating through their little brain. Because is it possible that someday they are going to have someone that they know that's now got to clean out an estate? What are the odds of that? I'm going to say pretty good. Because you've included them into this, they know this is a specialty you have, and more than likely, they will remember you and go, hey, my friend, the real estate agent, this is a specialty he or she has. I need to connect you. See where we went with that? This is why your SOI is also a gold mine for you. So I've included them. Now, when I did this, holy smokes, did I get some amazing, amazing stories of where what got hidden and why. Now, you got to remember that People that are in, I'm going to say, a declining health state will often keep money at the house because if they need to pay someone to do an errand or run to the store for them or whatever, they want to be able to pay them cash. They don't do Venmo. So they will often have cash around. Oftentimes, too, sadly, if they are on heavy medications and their system is slowing down, their body does not process it through like it's supposed to. And elderly often become toxic on the medication they're on, which sends them into a loopy mode. They will take things off like jewelry and hide it because, they're hallucinating sometimes, they're panicking, they're thinking someone's going to break into the house, they can't, fight back. So they will do some off-the-wall stuff. So there is stuff here, there, and everywhere. So you're going to start by reaching out to your SOI, ask them if they've ever had to help after a loss, and where did they find what hidden. Now, in the conversation with them, you could also ask, by any chance, do you know of any attorneys that specialize in this that I could introduce myself to? You may find out that your friend's aunt is an attorney and you never knew it. So you're doing dual purpose here. You're including them in this specialty that you're going to have, but you're also asking them if there's someone that they know that's an attorney that could make an introduction. Step one. All right. Once you've got that prepped and ready, then we're going to move on to the next step. You're going to look up and develop your resources. Your resources are, who do you need to have as part of your team? Remember, when you hire me, you hire the team that goes with me, that can help liquidate down stuff. Now, again, there's 2 steps to this and 2 reasons for this. As you're developing out your resources, some of the ones you want to be able to find out is if someone is needing to get rid of, I'm just going to say clothes and household stuff, who in your area would take those? Now, oftentimes it is advisable to bring in an estate liquidator because they can assess whether that's a $5 vase or a $50 or $500 vase. There's the difference. We are not trained to have that eye to do it. If it's marked Fenton, Swarovski, a couple of the other high-end stuff, I'm going to know it's not a $5 vase. But you typically don't have that skill set, so you want to have your team of those that can help you do that. So estate liquidators would be some as a possibility. You'd also want to find out when it comes to clothes and shoes and stuff like that, who are the resources in your footprint that could take some of them. If the person, I'm just going to say, for example, had suits or working attire clothes, because again, not everybody that passes is old. Is there a company, organization that can utilize them? Think about that, because obviously your Goodwill, your thrift stores are all good options, but not always the only option. When it comes to medication, do you know where you can recommend medication be disposed of? Now, A, do not flush it down the toilet. But B, here's the beauty. Again, we're going to take this piece of the puzzle. Wait a minute, I need to use these. This piece of the puzzle and this piece of the puzzle and connect them together. By knowing you need to have an understanding of who in your footprint can dispose of medication, you would go to your local pharmacies, CVS, Walgreens, whatever, all dressed up, name badge on, go to the pharmacy, introduce yourself and say, I just have a crazy question for the day. I get the prize for crazy question of the day. I often deal with people who are liquidating down a house, oftentimes of someone who's had medication. Do you have a medication disposal box available? Now, that sucker may be sitting right behind you. You pretend like you don't see it. Ask. You want to ask a human being if that is something that is available. Again, one more person that knows what you're doing. Because has it happened when they went, oh my gosh, well, yeah, it's right there. And oh, by the way, my aunt just passed and we need to liquidate down. Can I have your card? Now, if you just walked in and looked around, you totally missed that opportunity. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. Next one down, furniture. You need to find out who in your footprint, and again, whether the furniture can be sold at a yard sale, whether it needs to go through an estate sale, or where and how. Next one down on this list is fire extinguishers. Now, most homes have a fire extinguisher. You cannot throw them away. Did you know that? You do now. You cannot put them in the trash. But here's what you need to do. You would go to the local fire department and say, I'm Lynn, I'm with Sampson Properties, I'm a real estate agent, and I have the crazy question of the day. I get to win the prize for the crazy question of the day. I often help people liquidate homes, and when they have fire extinguishers, what are we supposed to do with them? Now that you know this, you still go in and ask. Because again, you're going to get in front of another person or more that now knows that you're in the real estate business and this is a specialty you have. Because isn't it possible that those at the fire department at some point in time may need a place to live or may know of someone that needs to buy or sell? Here we go. Now, just for the record, I did that. And what they told me was, yes, we will take them. We want to make sure that when you bring them to us, do not put them in your car, put them in the trunk. When you get back to the fire station, obviously we're here 24/7, unless all the trucks are out, then we're obviously on call. But come in and get us. We will come out and get them out of your car for you. They will use them for training. And then, because they can do all kinds of magic with them, refill them, whatever, and use them for training. So they can use them. So there you go. Now I knew. So when I had the properties to liquidate and I had fire extinguishers, I knew exactly where to take them back to. And when I took them back, I would often bring a little bowl of grab-and-go snackums with a couple of my newsletters in there as well for them to read when they're hanging out doing nothing. And yes, I did a call one day and said he had got my stuff, they'd been reading it, and they needed to sell and buy something else. So I cried all the way to the bank. All right? So, again, you're building this out. So the fire extinguishers is one. Jewelry is another one. Is it real or is it not? You don't know if it's a diamond or if it's a summer diamond. Do you know the difference? I'm saying no, okay? Because some are diamonds and some are not. There you go. You laughed at my jokes. All right. So by having a couple of jewelers to say, hey, I'm just trying to, I'm building a team around me that can help. As I go through estate liquidations with people, I need to know who can I bring a few items to have it determined whether it's real or whether it's not, because I certainly have no way of knowing. If they say no, they can't do that, fine. You go on to the next. And you keep looking till you get one or two in your footprint that can help you. Another great one, believe it or not, is pawn shops. Because each pawn shop area has specialties. When you walk in the door, you can tell if musical instruments is their specialty. You can tell if electronics is their specialty. You can tell if tools are their specialty. Or if they have a huge jewelry counter, you know that jewelry may be their specialty as well. And yes, oftentimes they will be able to help you determine whether it's a diamond or a summer diamond, high-end or costume jewelry. And if they want to buy it flat out, they can and they will. Okay? So There you go. That's another great resource to have as well. And again, the same introduction. I'm just building out the team that will be my go-to source. When I come across the clients that need to have an estate liquidated down, I need to know who I can turn to. Okay. And by the way, I'll refer people to you as well. You're looking to build a reciprocal referral relationship. It's not a one-way street. So that reciprocal referral relationship will become your best tagline and best friend to use. Okay. Local charities, know what is in your footprint. Know which auction houses or auction places are around as well, whether they deal with high-end or just everyday common stuff. Be familiar with what's in your footprint. Also take a look at animal shelters. Because if someone's got blankets or sheets or towels or that type of stuff to liquidate down, you can have it washed and donate it to the local animal shelter. A lot of times they are thrilled to get it. All right. So again, know who your resources are. Who are your go-to source? When you're going to be helping someone liquidate down, know who that is. All right. Next step down. You want to take a look at documents and shredding of documents. You want to remind the people to look for any keys. I used to actually go to the dollar store and get a little plastic bin with a lid on it, and I'd put a tag on it that says keys, and I would give it to them. If they found any keys anywhere as they were going through and cleaning out stuff, the keys went in there. Because oftentimes the key is here, but then under there was the suitcase that was locked that was full of money. Trust me, it's happened. Okay. So just be, think ahead. Clothes, obviously you're going to need to advise them where they can donate clothes to. Medications, whether it's yard sale, auction, whatever. We talked about the fire extinguishers already, about jewelry, pawn shops, local charities, and auction houses. So those are some of the service providers that you want to connect with as you get ready to start building out this component. All right. I used to always, as a gift to those that I was working with and helping, I would provide them 2 boxes or more. I would put a colorful sign on it, and I just do it in Word, big bold letters, print it out on a colored piece of paper and tape it onto the box. And it said documents to be shredded. Okay. You do not want to just throw documents away. Identity theft, even after a death, is a real thing. And there is nothing worse than a family who has had a loss get a call 3, 5, 7 years later from a bill collector because someone at the time stole the deceased identity, hung on to it for a while, now has ran up credit cards and has bailed on them, and it's coming back and they're looking for the person. That is not a good thing to have. Okay. All right. Next thing we're going to talk about is creating your resource mini book. Now, we have the mini book and we have another one. For those that are here in class, you will all get a copy of the mini book. For those that are online, it will be available either underneath this video, more than likely, as soon as we get it up into Samson University, and we'll have it available for you. If you like the idea of it, run with it. If not, you don't have to. But the mini book is basically, this can go to anybody. And it's entitled, Are Your Wishes Known? There is a basic little letter. Your name goes on it. The disclaimer on it is this is not intended for legal advice. Information deemed correct, but not guaranteed. Because yes, we have a big footprint and certain rules can change from footprint to footprint, as well as from month to month or year to year. It's got some basic information, and one of them is knowing the lingo. I would recommend that you be familiar with the lingo as well in this field. TOD, POD, POA, last will, trust. Okay. So those are all terms that you need to be familiar with. And we do have it referenced here in the handout for you. Here's one thing that I want to also address and make clear. If somebody says that they have a power of attorney, the power of attorney for the person they have it for dies when the person dies. It does not carry over after. This becomes a big issue. I know that our cardinal title attorneys have done some classes at some of the HQDUs and some of the other events on estates. It is amazing. And so I just want to make sure that that was a point out for you. Probate, DNR, again, we have some terms here for you. Also in here is, again, this is for someone prior to death. So this is literally, you can make this available either on a link on your website. You can email it out to everyone that's in your database a little at a time, because it also talks about, what are their wishes? I mean, I know, and I get it. This is an awkward conversation to have. That's why I say this is not for the weak at heart. So, but this is valuable and powerful information. Another thing we've included in here, because there's a lot of misunderstanding, is who is the next of kin? And it gives the rundown of exactly who is the next of kin. Again, pulled from a legal source. In here as well is information that would be needed for a death certificate. And again, it's for the person ahead of time, just kind of fill in the blanks. Now, recently I saw an ad for a packet and I laughed. It says, "Ha ha, now I'm dead, it's your problem." And then inside the front page was some other colorful language that was used, which was hysterical. And I thought, okay, this is funny. Because, again, it's often an awkward conversation to have, but it's information that everybody needs to be aware of. So there you go. So there's information on there. Estate planning, again, is given some, fill in the blank. It's kind of a worksheet for them. Passwords that somebody may need to have, additional notes. And then, again, this is designed for just basic information for anybody. Now, the other thing, before we get into the estate side of it, is remembering if somebody has a home, they may need to have a will and a trust. Again, every footprint is different. So what I would encourage you to do is to find out in the area that you are at if a trust is a higher priority than just a will, because there's financial implications as well and all kinds of gray area and yada, 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 yada. Okay. All right. Let's go back to our handout real quick. So you're going to create this mini book. Oh, wait, you don't need to create it. We got it for you. If you want to use it, there you go. All right. The next step, now that you're getting your resources together, you're going to research attorneys in your area. Obviously, you want to look for the ones that do wills and trusts. You want to find the ones that also do divorce, but don't completely disregard criminal attorneys either. Because it is possible that that criminal attorney has a client who is a real piece of work and is getting ready to go do 59 to life for murder. If they've got a house, that house is getting sold because that attorney is wanting to get paid. So don't completely disregard that one, but just throw that one on the back burner. All right, so where can you find the attorneys? I've given you the recommendation of you can Google them. If you have any local directories, you can do that. Heck, you can, 50 million ways. It used to be, remember the old phone books? I'd say get a phone book and look them up. Yeah, it's all available online now, all right? Once you start finding them, you will want to create, and I just use Excel as an example of a spreadsheet with the attorneys, obviously phone number, whatever information you have for them, and what their specialty is, because you can sort them from there. When you get ready to email them, I'm going to give you the email information in a second, but when you get ready to email them to make your introduction, do not Do a batch email. Do not send it from your CRM because it will get blocked and stopped. Do not add an attachment to it. You want to send it to them one at a time. Now, I know you're all going, but I want to just do it. No, don't do an email blast. And if you are going to email more than one in a mini blast, do not put their names in the to or the CC. Y'all know about that? Please tell me yes. BCC stands for blind copy or blind carbon copy. BCC means they're getting it, but they don't know who else is getting it. Do not make the mistake ever of putting a bunch into the CC or the to. Not a good thing. I'm just letting you know. Okay. And do not add an attachment. There you go. Because they're not going to open it. All right. They get threats all the time. So they're not going to open an attachment. All right. The sample of the email is in the handout. And just basically it says, I'm working with a lot of clients in my real estate practice who need an attorney to handle their matters, whether it be divorce, wills, estates, trusts, even taxes, or other legal issues. Often homeowners do not understand the value and the importance of having a will or trust, and it goes on to basically read out that you are looking to build a network of attorneys for a reciprocal referral relationship. You are not coming to them going, I'm desperate. I need business. Can you send me your clientele? Doesn't work like that. You always want to sell your value, to say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I need. Are you interested in this partnership? Okay. That is where you're wanting to go with it. Now, I will tell you a fun little giggle. I had a client or an agent a while back call. She had heard about this concept and said, I'm new and I'd really like to have, leads coming into me. And how do I do this? So I said, well, first off, obviously I need you to watch this because it's going to give all the nitty gritty and you're looking to build And she goes, we're meeting by Zoom. And the look on her face just went, psh. She goes, oh, I thought it would be easier than this. I don't want to work that hard. Yeah. Oh. I had to keep this somewhat under control because we were on Zoom. I said, well, then this may not be the best option for you then, but this industry may not be your best option either. I never heard from her again. I was not heartbroken. Really? Okay. Now, that's why I say this does take a little bit of work. But once you've got it and you got it going, you are golden because the drip down just keeps coming. It's a gift that just keeps giving. Okay? So, getting you in the right mindset. Once you have sent out an email to the attorney, expect not to hear from them. Because it could be that they're in the middle of the biggest, messiest deal with clients that they've ever had to experience. And you are not their priority at that moment in time. So you would follow up with them a week or two later. You can call and say, hey, and again, you're not going to get to the attorney. You're going to get to the gatekeeper, which is the secretary or the admin or whatever her title, his or her title is. So just know you're going to go through the gatekeeper. You say, I just wanted to remind you, I've just sent in a email. This is the subject line. I just want to make sure it gets to his or her attention, and I'll check back in a couple of days. I know they're probably swamped. Okay? You just keep until they either say, shut up, go away, and leave me alone, or yes, we can meet. Now, when you go to set up an appointment, you want to make sure that you are stating that this is a complimentary, quick, 10 minutes or less meeting. Because if you just call to schedule a meeting with them, they may want to bill you for it, because that's what attorneys do. They bill you for everything. So make sure that you are crystal clear and specific with, I'm looking for a complimentary quick meeting. I'm looking for a couple of attorneys that I can refer to in a reciprocal referral relationship. I want to come in and just show what I can bring of value to the attorney's clients and to see if we're a good fit, a good match. And if not, I'm out of your hair. Get in, get out. If you have told them 10 minutes, you best either set an alarm or watch your clock. Because at the end of 10 minutes, you can say, hey, I promised I'd be in and out in 10 minutes. We're at the 10-minute mark. What's your schedule? Do we got a couple more minutes, or do we need to reschedule, or can I treat you to coffee one day? Be respectful of their time, because they run a tight time clock. Because to them, every 15-minute increment is billable hours. So don't think if you're a high personality, you're going to go in and sit and chit-chat for a few minutes. They don't want to hear the chit-chat. They're thinking cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. So make sure that you are prepared. All right. Ultimately, what you are looking for is to build that reciprocal referral relationship, because you have clientele that have homes that could or should be protected either with a will or trust. Mr. Attorney, this is your area of specialty, but also in a reciprocal, I would like to bring the value that I bring to those who are doing estate liquidations to the executor trustee to help through the process. Let me share with you real quick what I have to offer. Now, you will have this entire booklet that will be available to all of you. You do not leave it with them. Do not leave it with them. We actually have a one page that you can leave with them. Because if you leave this with them, they're going to say, I don't need you. I can create this myself. You're out. Okay. You would have one as maybe a sample. And I know someone that took it, again, in the Word document, left the top little bit in dark print and then started gradiating it down into gray, lighter gray, to the point it wasn't even legible. There you go. All right. It teased, but it let them see, no, you ain't getting this free of charge. Okay. Now, once you have established a relationship with that attorney, you can co-brand it with them. You can put their information on there right alongside yours. So that is a possibility, because you can co-brand them. This I had printed through our amazing print center. And again, it will be available to you in a Word document so that you can adjust it if you so choose to. Remember, if you are going to use, we have the picture that's on the front cover of this is through Pixabay. It is a royalty-free image. If you are, bless you, if you're going to change out a image, make sure it is royalty-free. Or if you're using Canva, everything that's in Canva is royalty-free and you're able to use it as well. Okay, so just little PS on that. Obviously, make sure the disclaimer stays on it, that this is basic information, often drawn from personal and professional experience. It is not intended for legal advice, yada, yada, yada. You've got your disclaimer on there. Make sure that stays on there. And how this reads is, I'm going to give you the quick highlights of it. And y'all get a copy for those that are in class. Personally and professionally, I've done this one time too many, because personally and professionally, I had. So if you've ever had to clean out a family member's or a loved one's estate, you can now say, personally and professionally, I've done this one time too many. So it's just, again, a very simple introduction to the executor trustee after a loss. You would obviously add a quick bio in there. Again, just a teeny bit of information. A teeny bit about Sampson Properties. Again, just paragraphs already in there. You can leave it in there. And then the testimonials, again, the QR code that goes to your website on the testimonial page in case they want to see what others have had to say about working with you. Items to consider. Again, this is for now. This would go to the person that's serving as the executor trustee who's got to liquidate out the estate. Okay, that's the purpose of this. Items to consider. We talk about the legal, the life insurance policies, keys, money, old checkbooks, military, law enforcement, badges, medals, a DD 214, bank statement. So it gives them all the things that they're probably going to come across and be familiar and need to keep an eye out for. It talks about the struggle is real. Who is the next of kin? What needs to go on the death certificate, some of the other stuff that they're going to experience and need to know. We have in there who is the next of kin, common terms that are often used. Again, this is where if they have been the power of attorney for a person, they may not know that the minute that person passes, that power of attorney goes with it. And we have, Title has shared this. We have shared this, that sometimes somebody will come and say, well, I'm the power of attorney and I have the right to sell the property. No, you don't. It all depends on what the will and the trust has to say. If there is no will or trust, obviously it's got to go through probate. That can take a period of time, but then it comes down to who is the next of kin and who technically can do it. Okay. If you get a chance to listen to any of our attorneys with Cardinal Title that talk about estates, absolutely go. I did a class with Mary from our Lake Ridge office. It is actually it was just, recorded through a Zoom meeting. So not all fancy smancy, but the information that she provided was phenomenal. And that is on my website under the Listen and Learn. Okay, so that is there if you need to go. That is probably the biggest takeaway on that. Then again, this is designed for the executor trustee, how to dispose of medication, some stuff that they need to be aware of, because again, you have done your homework. So you can say, and by the way, most CVS stores have a medication disposal box there. You just go in, pull the thing, drop it in, close it, and it's locked in. Okay, let them know that you know what's out there for them. It talks about some other things they need to check. Again, it goes a page and a half, and then it goes into where to start. Because oftentimes they are absolutely at a loss as to where to start and how to do this. We talk about legal documents, keys, clothes, purses, and make sure that they are checking pockets, wallets, purses, jackets. If there's socks rolled up, unroll the socks because oftentimes there's money in them. Dresser drawers, you pull the dresser out, you got to reach up underneath it, pull the dresser drawer out and see if it's underneath the drawer. The possibilities of hiding money is absolutely staggering. If we actually knew the amount of money or the amount of jewelry that has been pitched into a dumpster or a trash or the dump, we would all just go, oh my God, because they're not looking. So this is giving them some guidance and awareness of what to do. Now, here's another one. Guns and ammunition. We're in Virginia, by the way. There's a lot of people that have guns and ammunition. There's a lot of even Civil War guns with black powder that are black powder guns. All right. This becomes one of those delicate things because has this happened? Oh, yes, it has. Well, they're going to get Uncle Tony to go ahead and take care of the guns. Well, guess what? Nobody knows that Uncle Tony has a felony record. Can felons handle guns? Nope, they can't. So that creates a whole different component to Uncle Tony taking the guns and getting rid of them. I would even go as far as find your local gun shop. Remember your resources? I'm going to go in and introduce myself because someday I may need to know how to handle that. And no, you don't transport them. A lot of times your Green Top and some of your other sporting places will actually come to the home to look, because they know that not everybody's comfortable in handling them. They don't want them handling them unless they're, obviously, concealed carry and they know how to handle them. But make sure that that's one of your points of contacts as well in your little team of resources. So guns and ammos. Some other ones that we often didn't even think of was military medals and flags. What do you do with those? So we've got some information in here as to how to address that. DAR and SAR, Daughters of the American Revolution or Sons of the American Revolution. We have a lot out in this footprint. They have specific medals, medallions, IDs, and that kind of stuff. You need to know, if you come across it, what is the proper protocol for disposing of those things. Law enforcement badges as well, or law enforcement uniforms should not be just dumped out and let go. So again, it addresses all of this in the handout. Also, if you by chance come across a notary logbook, those have to be sent back to the department in which they were issued. You can't just dispose of them. There you go. Shredding companies. Who is in your footprint that handles document shredding? Know who that is. Auction houses, decluttering, trash removal. Another place to make sure that you are recommending, again, it's mentioned in here, that they look into is books and Bibles. Okay. A lot of times books and Bibles have money tucked away in them. So look about that. Again, it just goes on and on and on. It's got other places to search online. There's a whole list of online sources that may have money for that person that nobody's thinking about. We did add a little component in here about grief resources that are available, and then the reminder to just breathe and take it one step at a time. Now, this booklet has been created over a massive amount of time. And 2 years ago, I had a team of our Samson agents who worked with me to take a deep dive into this and just analyze and who else and what else. And oh my God, and it was several of them came up with oh, by the way, the guns, the ammos, the law enforcement, the military medals, the blah, 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 blah. And it was like, didn't even think of that. I had my friend in California look at it and she says, well, the other one is the notary. She's a notary, so that would have been top of mind because she understands what the proper protocol is to return the notary. Because is there fraud in notary? So this has been developed out we worked on it for about 9 months. So I will now have it available to everyone who is wanting to go down this path of working either with attorneys or just estate liquidation in general. You will have access to it to customize the front page, adjust it as you need to, and run with it. Okay? Can you all say thank you? There you go. All right. So that is one of the tools that you are able to let the attorney know that you have at your fingertips and ready. What is one thing that all the attorneys have besides, it's a big ego. Can we agree to that? Okay. They want to know that whatever you do is going to help them look better and greater in front of the client. So when you're able to help that attorney shine, because you then become a reflection of them, kind of. So by letting them know that you have this available for any of their clients, now obviously the ones that get referred to you, it's going to make the transaction or the transition and the transaction through a whole lot easier. So does that make sense? Give me a yes, a nod heads. I want to see nod head. Okay, good. All right. Let me take a couple minutes here to share a couple of horror stories with you, or good stories, bad stories. And then we're going to go into handling divorces as well. All right. Bottom line is build out your resources of who you need to have to help liquidate down stuff. All of those people then that you have contacted should go onto your mailing list, email list for the monthly newsletter. Because just like anybody else, you need to remind them that you are there. I would even go as far as every so often offer to feature them as the vendor of the month to help drive business or traffic to them? I've never been told no. So again, you're looking for the reciprocal. What can you do for them? What can they do for you? So, and again, when it comes to that attorney, it may take you 10, 15, 20 attempts to finally get with them. And if they say no, not interested, not a problem, next. You just keep moving. You do not need to go for the big firms necessarily. If you've got a small, what I call mom and pop shop, sometimes they are your best. Okay, so don't overlook those. You want to take again, a timely, quick meeting to say, I know people that have homes. They often don't have a will. They don't often have a trust. I am looking to be able to refer you over to my clientele, but also be able to have a reciprocal referral relationship. In other words, I want your business as well. When you've got a will or trust that needs to be executed out with property, I hope that I become your go-to source because I want to be able to go in and interview with whoever the executor trustee is going to be. Okay? Know enough of the slang that if they say something, POD, TOD, whatever, you know what they're talking about. Again, it is referenced in here for you as well. It will and can take some time to build out, but once it is done, drip, 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 drip. Stuff gets handed to you on a silver platter. Now, here's some fun stories. Had a client one time that was referred to me from the attorney, and she proceeded to share with me the family dynamics. That's why I say sometimes you have to have a little backbone. I knew that the one brother was not left as the executor trustee. I quickly figured out why he wasn't. The brother that was lived in Texas. He flew into San Diego once a month for a week, and we just tackled each project as it was going to go through. That's when I learned about the fire extinguishers. Mm-hmm. And yes, ended up with some transaction from the fire department. Mm-hmm. But I also shared with him, because I went to the house one day and the brother was just throwing mom's stuff in the bags, was going to get rid of them. And so I got a hold of my client and I said, hey, just quick heads up, there may be money in there. So just kind of heads up, check everything before it goes out. He goes, okay, got it. So a couple months go by and he's back in town and Margaret called and said, hey, he's going to be in town. Can you come by? I said, absolutely. And when she called, I answered. I don't care what I was doing. And met her at the office. And he was always gracious. He always took us to lunch afterwards. So he reaches down into the briefcase and pulls out a stack of money and puts it on the table. And she looks at it and looks at him and looks at it and looks at me and he says, does it matter which account this goes into? And she goes, where did this come from? And he says, oh, Lynn told me where to look for hidden money. This is what I found. I said, cool. Can I ask how much is there? Almost $6,000. Which would have gone in the trash if he hadn't looked. And so I looked at it, looked up at Margaret and said, cool, he's buying lunch and we're not doing the 99-cent specials. We had a good giggle. Of course, he always did. So in her eyes, I was all that in a bag of chips. To the client, Margaret was all that in a bag of chips because she brought me on board. Win-win across the board, okay? There was another time where when I reached out to my SOI and said, okay, hey, where did Grandma hide it? Can do you have any stories? Do you have any experiences? And I was getting my list back and I'm writing this down, or I would email and I'd get it back and I would add it in. The client shared with me that she goes, you're not going to believe this one. I said, oh, let's give it a whirl. The mother or the grandmother was obviously older with some dementia. She had the family heirloom diamond ring. One day it disappears. Nobody can find it. She passes, ring's gone. It had been in the family for generations coming down. So they were just, heartbroken. And fast forward about a year later, she had actually hung on to a gag gift that she had gotten for her grandfather when he retired, because it was one of those toilet paper with the crossword puzzles on it. Okay. She had bought him a box. It was hysterical. It was a family ha-ha, giggle, giggle. Out of sentimental, she pulled one out of the box and kept it. The others went. A friend came to her about a year after the last death and said, hey, by any chance, do you still have those? I can't find one. I need it as a gag gift. You know, where'd you get it? Do you remember? Blah, blah, blah. And she says, you know what? Enough time's passed. I'll give you the last roll. Pulls the roll out of the back of the closet, because she had kept for sentimental reasons. And in the middle was some tissue. She pulls the tissue out, and what's in the middle of the tissue? The ring. Grandma, in her loopy mode near the end, took it off, wrapped it in tissue. That box of gag gift toilet paper was close by. For whatever reason, she stuck it in the middle of one of the rolls, and that's where it had sat. She just took one out to keep, got rid of the rest, and that was the one she kept. So needless to say, the tears and the waterworks all flowed when they discovered that the grandmother's ring was still in the family. Okay. You check. There was a story shared. Agent had bought a chair at Goodwill. It was one of those horsehair chairs, with the funky, horsehair in the padding. And it was just a little chair with, the funky material on it. So she decided, had it for a year and a half or more, decided one day she was going to go ahead and strip it apart, refinish it, and put a new, chair cover on it. She proceeds to rip the material out. It wasn't horsehair in there. Well, there was a little bit. It was lumpy and clumpy because it was full of money. A couple $1,000s. I think she paid $20 for the chair at the Goodwill, but it had several $1,000s sitting in it. Can't make this stuff up. Okay. The other horror story, those were kind of fun stories, but the other horror story I want to share with you, again, this is why I say this may take a backbone as well. My client, I'd known them since, they were kids. Her name was Karen. Her name was Karen. She wasn't a Karen, if you know what I mean. So I meet with her and her husband. Her husband's mother had just passed away. I saw the will. I saw the trust. I knew the attorney. Everything was all okay. We're going to sell the house. And, it's an emotional time. And so I went to go see them to give them some information, some guidance, and then get some stuff signed. And he's all upset and was, kind of in tears. And I said, what's going on? And he, nothing. I said, excuse me, I'm not buying nothing. What's going on here? Well, the brother was being a first-class a-hole. Fill in the blanks. And I said, what's going on? So they started to tell me. And I said, all right, I want his name and I want his number. And they said, no. I said, give me his name and give me his number. Karen nudges her husband and said, oh my God, I've never seen the look on her face like that. You better give it to her. So I got his name and the phone number and I said, I'll handle this. So later I proceeded to call the brother and said, I understand that there is apparently some misinformation here, that you are accusing your brother of doing all of this on his own and that he's not consulting you and yana, nana, 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 nana. And the brother started in on me. And I said, whoa, time out. I said, let's be crystal clear on this. I don't know who has given you misinformation, but your brother is only doing what his fiduciary responsibility is that the court has ordered him to do. He is the executor trustee. I've seen the will, I've seen the trust, I've talked to the attorney. He has been ordered by the court to serve as the executor. He is required to follow the will and the trust to the letter of the law. He is making no decisions on his own because those were made by his mother. They had the same mother, but his mother. Yeah, but I did. And I said, there's no and or buts about it. I said, look, if you have an issue with this, I had my you-know-what shoes on, the little, when you have to put your bee shoes on. Mama Bear kicked in, and I said, if you have an issue with this, I would strongly suggest you take it up with your mother, and you know exactly where you can find her. The funeral had been 2 days prior. I really did say that. And he went, I said, are we finished with this discussion? Yes, ma'am. I said, all right, fine. And for the record, you owe your brother an apology. I said, he's been through enough. He doesn't need you to go along with it. Good? Yes, ma'am. Got off the phone. A day or two later, I proceeded to have to go back to Karen and Richard's house. And he says, oh, because I said, what's new? He says, oh, I got a call from my brother. And I said, oh, really? What did he have to say? Well, he apologized. And I said, good, then he got my message. Lynn, what did you say to him? Oh, nothing. I just set the record straight. I wouldn't tell him. I said, but he got my message loud and clear. And it was like, oh, okie dokie then. That was difficult for me to be that in your face with the brother. But Mama Bear kicked in. I had my shoes on, and I was not going to let him talk to the brother who was going through enough to put up with his BS along it. So I got the backbone, and I let him have it. Got it straightened out. So that applies into the will and trust side. So that's why I say this is not for the ill at heart. If you are one that is antsy or nervous about being in a home where somebody may have passed, then, this may not be for you. But if you are willing to put in the work to build out the referral sources, to build out the couple of attorneys, and all you need is a couple of good ones, you will have the drip of this coming to you, because this component is recession proof. It happens nonstop. And now your sphere also knows that you do this. So when the time comes that they know of someone who has passed, that's got to liquidate out an estate, hopefully you are top of mind. Your vendors are top of mind with you because you're going to feature them as a vendor of the month every so often. There you go. Everyone is helping everyone. It's reciprocal referral business. There you go. All right. We're going to go into the divorce side of it, and then we'll open it up for some questions as we get to the end of it. All right. Everything is going to be available for you in either resources or through me. We'll make sure that it's easy, accessible, probably as an attachment underneath the video once it gets posted. Again, quick reminder, whether you're dealing with the estates or the divorces. Do divorces happen all the time? Yeah, they do. You want to make sure that you have your unique selling proposition. It is the experience that you're bringing to help them through. Now, we've already talked about this. We've gone through this story time. I've just shared that with you. When you are dealing with an estate, one of the first things you want to do is make sure the person that you are meeting with and dealing with does, in fact, have the authority to sell the property. We kind of hit that already. Make sure that you are checking. My recommendation is with one of our attorneys here at Cardinal Title to make sure that they are guiding you or instructing you how the paperwork needs to be signed. It is very specific. Take the advice from our attorneys here at Cardinal as to how the paperwork needs to be signed. I used to write it out so that when my clients had to sign, they signed it exactly how it needed to be. There is nothing worse to ruin your credibility when you've got to go back to them near the end of the transaction because they just signed their name and it's not their name that needs to be on there. Oftentimes, it will be the executor trustee. So it would be Jane Doe, executor trustee for the James Smith Trust. Check with your legal at Cardinal Title to make sure you're getting how it needs to be done from the beginning. And that way all documents are done correctly from the get-go. All right. We good on that one? Did I hammer that one? Nail that one home? Okay, good. All right. Power of attorney. I already mentioned. Power of attorney dies when the person dies. So if they're a power of attorney, sorry, that doesn't fly. Okay. Deep breath. Let's change that. Let's talk about the divorce side real quick. Your role and the unique positioning that you're taking is you represent the equity in the house. I used to tell the clients that and the attorneys that my job was to protect the equity in the house. I don't want to hear he said, she said, because if we get into he said, she said, it's $300 an hour because I'm then become the counselor. I ain't doing that. So my job, just so that we're crystal clear from the beginning, is to make sure that you two aren't bickering away any equity that's in the house. Have we seen it done? Oh, yes. So with that, again, similar to what you would do on the wills and trust, you search for the attorneys, you create the email. You may even ask any in your SOI if they know of any divorce attorneys, not that you're getting a divorce, but you work with sometimes divorced couples. You want to make sure that, you've got some good resources available, because it could be too, someone in your SOI is going to go through a divorce and they need a recommendation of a divorce attorney. So it becomes that reciprocal referral relationship. Did you know that 1.2 million divorces happen every year? 61% of them own a home. That's 732,000 listings per year that come out, and that's 3.6 in your own hometown when it's broken down. So when you're going to do marketing, okay, so you're wondering, so how do I get these? Do not send an email out that says, so I hear you're getting a divorce. Probably not a good marketing strategy to have. I'm just throwing that one out there for fun and wiggle and a giggle. If you don't know what to say with the emails to the attorneys, we got the samples provided for you. Here's some other interesting stats. Seasonal spike of divorces are between January and March. 1.2 million a year. 61% of the couples have a home. Again, we've talked about the percentage of the year. Did you know that 40 to 50% of the first marriages fail? 67% of second marriages fail, and 75% of the third marriages fail. Okay, that blows my mind. And interesting stats, because 75% are more likely to file when they know someone else who is going through a divorce. They figure if you can do it, I can do it. Okay, they can cry on each other's shoulders. The U.S. is ranked number 3 in the world for the most divorces per year. I don't remember. I knew someone was going to ask me that. And it was like, darn it, I should have looked. Okay. Again, when you're working with the attorneys, you are looking to build a reciprocal referral relationship. Here's the beauty of working divorces. Sometimes you have a sell and 2 buys. Okay. Sometimes you have a sell and 1 buy. Sometimes you have a buy and a buy later. All right. When it comes to the divorce, sometimes, and again, do not assume it's going to be a 50-50 split. You are representing the house. You're not representing the people per se. And sometimes you got to be very specific and crystal clear on that, because they don't want you taking sides. That can get into a whole money mess. Now, real life issues that may come up. Here's a great horror story for you. Can't make this up, just so y'all know. All right. My favorite attorney had recommended or referred me over to a couple that were getting a divorce. And she called me one day and she says, have you left? And this was all before it was done digitally. It was, we got wet signatures on everything. And she says, by chance, have you left him any paperwork that contained her signature? And I said, no, because I don't trust him. She said, good girl. Okay. The little, let me clear my throat. Okay. He decided to start forging notes claiming he was giving her X amount of money a month until they got the divorce decree and figured out what he was going to owe. So he was claiming with this signed note that he was giving her money. He wasn't giving her diddly squat. So Margaret was just trying to double check, had he gotten anything with her signatures on it? And I said, no, I didn't leave him anything because I don't trust him. She said, smart gal. So fast forward, again, when you get involved in these, man, oh man, can you find out some of the stuff that's going on behind the scenes? So she calls me one day and says, you're not going to believe this. And I said, oh, come on. Let's have it, girl. He had gone to the house to pick up the kids and lifted the keys to her new truck that she had just bought. That was her pride and joy. He picked up the keys and took off with them. Nobody knew that he had lifted them. He then proceeded, oh, wouldn't it be funny if he hired a friend of his to steal her truck out of the parking lot at work on her birthday? Now, how did we know about it? Well, it just so happened that her girlfriend was at the lunch restaurant having lunch and was sitting in the booth behind him. Now, the booths had high backs, so they couldn't see each other, but she recognized his voice. And he's discussing what he's going to pay this guy to go steal the truck on her birthday, and she was working. And now, let me throw in the little PS on this one. She worked at one of our local casinos in San Diego. Those things have security cameras all over the place. So that was real stupid, even in the parking lot. So the friend overhearing this calls her, she goes ballistic, calls the attorney, and it's like, oh my God, they called the police and they decided they were going to let him do it. So, they caught him after he left the parking lot. They were able to pull him over because of something, and then was able to put two and two together. And yes, he did get arrested. And the stupid, soon-to-be ex-husband, that did not fare well in court when that came out. So, can't make this stuff up. Cannot make this stuff up. So, another one, and this is where I say too, this is not for the faint at heart. Couple was going through divorce, and she was pretty mad. I mean, she was PO'd about this. And I get it. She was hurt. She was angry. She was mad, the whole name. I sat down with her. We were going through some stuff that she needed to know about. And lo and behold, I'm hearing every time she blows up, she calls the attorney. The attorney has to notify the other attorney. They're both billing up the wazoo. And I finally said, oh, man. So we got done with business. And I said, can I talk to you, woman to woman? She goes, yes. And I said, good. I took my name badge off, placed it on the table with a little, got her attention. And I said, look, my job is to protect the equity in the house so that when all is said and done, you both have at least some money to walk away with. What's bothering me, I get it, you're hurt. I get it, you're mad. I get it, I get it. But every time you go down this rabbit hole, the only person that's winning is the attorney, because both attorneys are billing. You are draining the life and the equity out of this house. And every time you do, he's thinking, oh my God, I'm glad I'm getting rid of her. I said, I don't want to see you walk away with nothing when it is all done and over with. So I want you to take a deep breath and think about whether it is worth the argument, the fight, and the attorney bill, because the only ones that are winning are the attorneys. Needless to say, she started crying. We had a boo-hoo moment, but she understood my point. This is where and why I say sometimes you just have to have the backbone to handle it, because you never want to get into the, well, he said, she said, he said, she said, he said, da, 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 da. If anybody got anything in paperwork, everybody got it at the same time. It was not mailing it to this one first and then emailing it to this one and then emailing it to this one and emailing it to this one. The two attorneys and the two people involved. It went to everybody all at the same time. That way, no one could ever come back and say, well, why did they get it first? You were protecting yourself, protecting the equity in the house, okay? So, again, great resource, because divorces happen all the time. And if you've got a divorce attorney who can realize that you can help, that you are the voice of the house, you are the voice for the equity in the house, that is your role, they'll be a whole lot happier to be able to work with you and to use you, okay? So the question comes is, what are you doing that's going to separate you from the crowd? On the divorce side, you're the voice for the equity in the house. On the estate side, been there, done that. And you're going to help the people through the process step by step. In closing, I'm going to share one more story with you of real life of how this unfolds. Margaret, my favorite attorney, had given me the recommendation to meet with this gal. Her lifelong friend from the time they were kids had just passed away. She lived in Michigan. We were in San Diego. She comes out and finds out she's the executor. She didn't know she'd been being left the executor. The gal's husband had passed away. They'd been in the house for 40, almost 50 years. There was stuff, and more stuff. So I go to meet with this gal one evening, and we kind of started chit-chatting, and she looked at me and said, "When do you have to list the house?" And I looked at her and I said, "When you're ready. I know you got a lot of stuff to do. We got a lot of stuff to do. I know that you don't live in the area, so I'm going to be here to help guide you through the process and, where to go and what your resources are. And we'll get through it and then we'll list." She started to cry. And I thought, oh, dear Lord, what did I say? Well, then after, the sniffles and the wiping the tears, she shares with me that she had met with another real estate agent that was a recommendation from a neighbor that morning. The other agent walks in, looks around, and says, "When do you need to clean this shit up so I can get the house listed?" Mm-hmm. Oh my God, just came out of the crowd here. Yeah, I grit my teeth. I said, "Excuse me?" They said, "What?" She goes, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, honey, no. I said, "We will list it when you're ready. Look, I've been through this personally and professionally a half a dozen times or more. I'm going to walk you through this with what do we do first? What are we looking for? What do we need to keep an eye out for? And then when we're ready, then we'll list, and not until." She kind of teared up and started crying. And I asked her if she would give me the name of the other agent. I'm thinking the look on my face when she said that, what the other agent had said, was probably a good idea not to give me the name of that other agent. I'm just thinking out loud here. And I'm thinking, how dare you? So then I find out that her day from hell started with that first thing in the morning. Funeral was at noon. She went and laid to rest a friend of hers that they had been friends for over 40, 50 years. So she had a rough day. And then I came in the evening. So needless to say, she hired me and we walked her through it. But that's the compassion that you need sometimes, is to take them by the hand and say, "You know what? We're going to walk you through it. Here's the boxes. Here's what we need to do first." And even as far as a tote that says, "These are the things," I want you to go into each room and I want you to make the rounds, methodically, right to left, all the way around. I want you to put in the box anything that's sentimental to you that you want to keep and hang on to. And then we'll set that aside. Once that is done, then you know that everything else is free to go. And then we'll start methodically going through everything. That was how we handled it. And she was grateful. But the attorney was also grateful that I handled her client with that much TLC and care. Okay? That's why I say this is a great avenue, but not for the weak at the knees and ill at heart. Okay? So with that, understand what you're bringing to the table that is going to be different and unique. We've got the bonus of the handouts for you. There you go. You now have a whole bunch of new ideas and techniques to work with attorneys to develop out your specialty niches of divorce, wills and trusts. There is so much more to learn about it, including what the contracts need to be. And again, we won't get into all that. This is more about the marketing component of it. We're going to open up to questions. We have completed our time slot here, but feel free to stay if you have a question. And with that, I hope this helps you build out the marketing department of your business to be recession proof, because these things happen every single day, every week, every month, every year, year after year. So with that, I hope this was helpful, but let's go ahead and open up. Are there any questions? Yes, we have one over here. Thank you. Okay. Do me a favor. Take these and put these in the back of the room, and please have everyone grab one on the way out. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you again for the information.
You're welcome.
When I'm searching for the attorneys that have to deal with death, are those estate attorneys or trust attorneys? I'm always confused.
They usually go hand in hand.
Okay.
They usually go hand in hand. So it would be will, trust, estates. Yeah.
Okay. And one more question.
Okay.
In dealing with the divorce listings, once you are, once an attorney refers you to a couple that's getting a divorce, do you then go through your normal listing presentation, or is there something else that happens there?
I still give them both the listing presentation to look at their convenience, but what I will spotlight is how I'm going to uniquely market their property. Because again, my job is to represent the equity in the house, and I'm going to make sure we get the biggest bang for our buck. Because again, we never assume it's going to be a 50-50 split. We never have those come out of our mouth, because that's the attorney in the courts to decide. And so I always make sure that I was very neutral on that. But whatever the equity is, I was going to make sure I did my darndest to protect it.
Okay. So. One more question. I'm sorry, everybody.
No problem. Go ahead.
What is your kind of like your marketing message to the people whose loved ones have been who have died? What's your marketing message to them to try to get to work with you?
Again, the marketing message that I would use is I've been there. I've done that. Okay. I understand there's a lot to it. I understand there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle. I've got some great resources. They're going to help guide you through it. If you'll allow me, I will walk you through this process.
Thank you.
There you go. We got a question in the back.
Hi, thank you, Lynn.
You're welcome.
In the case of an estate, do you, an estate sale, do you negotiate your compensation with the attorney or with the person who has the right to, I forgot the name, but I know each state.
Executive trustee.
Right.
I negotiate with the executive trustee because they're the ones that have the legal authority to sell the property. Okay. The attorney is typically handling the legalese behind the scenes of the probate side of it. If it's got to go through probate, I'm still doing my advocate, consultant, realtor, PPS job. And so I would negotiate that with the executive trustee and do it exactly the same way I would with any other listing. Okay. Good question. Oh, and by the way, the question I thought that was going to come with that is if you are having someone come to do an estate sale, if the company that's doing the estate sale will allow you to be there, I would be there. And I've done that a couple times. I would have a flyer on the property, again, just the basics, mechanics of it, and say, who do you know that would like to make this their new home or something to that effect? Okay. Sometimes that pays off. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes whoever's doing the estate sale, depending on how big the house is and, all kinds of various components, some will let you there, some won't let you there. So again, ask. The worst that can happen is they tell you no. The best that can happen is you're there as a helper to take stuff to where the checkout's going to be. And also who's coming. I'd have my name badge on, but who is coming to the estate sale? Often the neighbors. Okay, so there you go. Yes, David.
Lynn, thank you.
You're welcome.
follow-up question to when reaching out, sending emails to the attorneys, because I'm trying to visualize what that's going to look like. Best case scenario, they would say, yes, I am looking for a reciprocal partner. But then realistically, it'll be somewhere in between the yes and the no, maybe
Correct.
some type of objection. What are one or two of the top questions, pushback, that we might anticipate seeing so that we can start to prepare?
Good question. Okay, so some of the pushback that you are going to get, again, it may take some time because they may be in the biggest litigative mess they've ever seen before, so it may take some time to be able to get in. Their knee-jerk reaction is to say no, but you want to be able to, again, show them what value or be able to tell them what value you bring. I believe in the email, and I'll double check before it goes out to you guys as a whole, is I believe it reference in there that you have some resource materials for their client that is going to help them. So that is the point that you can leverage off of, because the other agents are coming in just going, I'm desperate, I need a transaction. Can you give me business? And you're not coming in with that. You're coming in with, hey, I'm looking for someone that I can trust and use as well for my clientele, but this is the value I can bring to you. Are you interested? Yes or no? Kind of, you don't put it that bluntly at the end, but if they're not interested, it may be just no, not now. Don't ever take a no as a no forever. You can touch back in 6 months or a year. And again, some of the objections may be, well, why should I partner with you? Well, because on the estate stuff, been there, done that. I've got this 20-page or whatever it is booklet of valuable information, obviously to make you look good, because I would want to co-brand it with you. That would go to the clientele, and just approach it from that manner. So usually, the only pushback I've seen is either A, them not responding, because again, they're too busy. That's where persistent pays off, okay? It is kind of like when we do regular marketing. The average person needs to hear from you anywhere from 9 to 18 times. Most agents stop after the third or fourth. Same thing applies here. You just become annoying until they say, either get in here and talk or get out of my face, okay? They don't go to that extreme, but you get the point, okay? Generally, there's not a whole lot of pushback. Again, it's just mainly their time and whether they can see that you're bringing something of value to the table. That's your biggest selling point, is you're bringing something that nobody else is providing. Okay? Yeah. All right, any other questions?
I just want to add something.
Yeah.
I just want to add something. Having gone through the state probate and 3 times with my husband, his family, not mine. And when you're dealing with art pieces, architectural stuff, be very careful with that, because one appraiser told us that this art piece is doesn't worth anything. But then when we have another attorney that we worked before, a state attorney, mm-hmm. and then they got another appraiser, well, that art piece is worth $100,000. That's a big discrepancy.
Absolutely.
So just kind of just take your time and don't worry about, because a lot of times there's a lot of pressure. Mm-hmm. So just throw that away out the window, mm-hmm. and just take your time, and because it's so easy there's a lot of fraud that could occur to those
Absolutely.
Kind of things.
Absolutely.
So just, that's just coming from experience.
Absolutely. And that's a good point. And I always made sure that I had more than one auction place or estate liquidators that were available for the client to choose. Just like we give 1 or 2 choices or 2 or 3 choices for a lender, I always had 2 or 3 resources for each component that was going to be needed so that they could get a second opinion if they wanted to. And you're right. Sadly, the one that says, oh, it's not worth anything may have known darn good and well that it was and was just wanting to get it for $5 so they could sell it for $150,000 or whatever the price range is. That's the sad part. And the sad part is a lot of times people will attempt to do a yard sale and the neighbors will come in and take advantage of them buying 50 cents on what should have sold for $50. So that's why sometimes it's valuable to have an expert come in, because I'm certainly not going to claim that I know whether it's a vase or a vase or whether it's a diamond or a summer diamond. Okay. Because when I had to go through, when my best friend and real estate partner had passed and I helped her sons with that process, I took a load of her jewelry to a local jewelry shop that she had dealt with. And I said, look, I don't know if it's real or not. And some of the stuff that we thought was real was just high-end costume. And there was a couple pieces she had that we thought was just costume jewelry that the boys had seen their grandmother and their mother had, was like, dang. So you just don't know. So it's always good to have a couple of resources that you can go to, and if in case you need to get a second opinion. But again, I always gave more than one option because I never wanted the full responsibility on my shoulder. Well, you said they were the one to use. So, but yeah, that's a good point. Good point. Any other questions? Okay. You guys have been awesome. You have been wonderful. Thank you for joining in online. Again, this is something that is a great resource to tap into. It is recession proofing your marketing, but it also takes a little bit of work. But don't be afraid of a little bit of hard work. And again, I don't care what you know. I want to know what you're doing with what you know. Go be wonderful. Go be awesome. And you can cry all the way to the bank. I'll see you later. Bye for now.